recording. Booty to the microphone. What are you talking about? Date night?
Day night.
And why it's so important.
And we're back.
Go team, go.
Here we are.
Mm-hmm. Getting it with the eyebrows.
Wow. Getting real into it.
Aggressive actions.
I love it. Love it.
It's been a wild week.
Always party.
And to say that we haven't grown in the last 7 days would be an understatement, I think.
Oh, yeah. Yeah, this week was a big one for growth and learning and being there for each other and one more step.
But that is a topic for another episode.
That's true.
Foreshadow.
There you go. Another day.
Forecast.
Yeah.
Whatever it's called.
Yep.
But amongst the chaos, amongst the crazy, we still managed to get in the most important night of the week.
Date night.
Date night.
So important.
And despite all the chaos that ensued last week, we still were able to line up a date night, make it happen, and designate time. And that date night was pretty fun.
It was fun.
Want to tell me what it was?
I'm honestly trying to remember what was last week.
Michaela doesn't even remember.
Is this Top Golf? Was that last week or is that the week before?
That was the week before.
Oh, my bad. I'm like, don't put me on the spot.
This week was chaotic. It was really crazy.
It literally was just a blur.
So 2 weeks prior, I had won a giveaway.
Oh, yes. Oh, Yep. Got it. Yep. I'm on the cool train now.
Michaela's on the cool train. She is tuned back into this episode on what we're talking about.
I knew you were going to put me on the spot. I was like, oh, shoot. Yep. It was great. It was all a blur. The whole week was rough. And so, yep, just knew you were going to put me on the spot.
So I won a giveaway from a local exotic car rental company. I entered on their Instagram and happened to win. So we got to take out a red Ferrari and go drive for a few hours. Had it for 4.5 hours. And we went to a food truck that we saw about that is about an hour away and drove the canyons and just had a great time together. Just spending time, windows open. And then, in my opinion, the coolest part of the entire date was we went over a canyon called Emigration Canyon. Emigration Canyon was the first place Michaela and I went on a date. So date number 1, we went to the movies on a Saturday night. Date number 2, on a Sunday, we went for a motorcycle ride. We went through East Canyon Dam and East Canyon Reservoir and up over Emigration Canyon. And that was where we had our first kiss in the rain.
Yep.
And here we are, nearly almost to the anniversary, 11 years later. I got to make out with you. It was awesome.
In a Ferrari. Yeah.
And seeing the progression. But the coolest part of the Ferrari was the Ferrari felt normal.
I did.
It felt like another car.
Yeah.
And it felt comfortable. I did not have any issue hopping in that car that cost $260,000 and go for 4.5 hours. Go through some pretty windy canyons. But it made for a really cool experience. And as I said, the coolest experience of the whole thing was being with you where we had our first kiss, and we haven't been there since.
Nope.
It's been 11 years since we were at that location. And we did it on a Wednesday evening.
And how cool that was, and just seeing how far we've come. And I love that was our days. We went for a drive. It wasn't anything crazy. It wasn't spending a ton of money.
We would have done the same thing in our cars, by the way.
Yeah, we would have gone for a drive through the canyon in our car. And we have done that for mini dates.
Mm-hmm.
And we just talk. And I love that part, that We get to look at the scenery, the beautiful mountains, but we get to take that time to connect. It was literally 4 hours in the car.
Mm-hmm.
It was not just a quick 30 minutes up, 30 minutes back. And I know everybody doesn't have that allotted time every single week to spend, just the two of you. And maybe you do, maybe you don't. Everybody's in different seasons. But having that time, we didn't just blast the music the entire time and not talk. We spent that time talking about where we've been, where we've come from, where we're at, and where we're going, and getting on the same page. And I love those dates where we just get to reconnect and check in with each other and see where each other's at. And it actually ended up being perfect timing with the week and the weekend that we had, and how chaotic it got that we had that check-in. I felt like that brought us even closer when those hard days came.
Yeah. Yeah, because that last week built day upon day. And then lastly, on our date night last week, we've kind of always said when we have sports cars, because I'm really into sports cars, one thing I really look forward to is sharing it with others and seeing bliss on people's face. So when we left the food truck in Heber, Utah, Michaela decided it was a good idea to drive past all the teenage football players in a Ferrari, because most of them have probably never seen one. And we ran into a kid.
Yeah, a kid on Spectrum, and he was probably 6, 7, maybe. And he loved Ferraris. He was looking at the car. He had that model car and a little Lego car. And I was talking to his mom, and I asked him, we stopped, and I said, you want to look inside? You want to get in? Like, sit in it. And I was talking with his mom, and she was like, with him being on Spectrum, we go through these obsessions with things. And right now it is Ferraris, and especially bright red Ferraris are really cool to him. He collects them. And so seeing you guys pull up, it just made his night. And you could see his face. He walked around the entire car. He looked inside. He was just in awe. And just being able to give him that experience was so cool.
And he came looking for us. I mean, the car's not quiet. So when it turned over, he came looking.
Yeah.
He knew what that was. And how cool it was to share in that experience with somebody else and to touch our future. Not just be in those vehicles, but also sharing those vehicles with people that it just drops their jaws. And how cool it is. But ultimately, the whole purpose of this episode is to discuss you don't need to do extravagant things for date night. You don't have to go out to dinner. You don't have to go to the movies. You can easily go to the park and sit on the swings and talk, which we have done so many times. There are so many times when our finances didn't allow us to spend anything. And so we went for a walk, literally just a walk around the block.
And even to take it a step further, if you have kids and you can't afford a babysitter or don't have access to a babysitter, then put the kids to bed and set up something special at the house. Make it more than just sitting and watching Netflix and not talking. Actually have conversation. Set up some board games at the table. Play together. Have fun together. Do a crossword puzzle. Like, just interact with each other and get out of the normal kids go to bed and then we sit and veg and we watch a movie and we don't talk. And then we go to bed. That is an hour or two that you could be connecting. You don't have to go out and do these extravagant things to connect with your partner. That is the crucial part that I have heard countless couples say they don't talk. They don't have these conversations and they don't play. Life is very serious a lot of the times. There's all the stresses, the finances, the everything that goes into the day-to-day life that we get caught up in, especially when you have kids and you have sports and you have school and all the things. But how often are you taking time to just play and laugh and have fun, and even more doing that with your partner so that you can grow closer and reignite that spark? I personally know countless couples that they're in the thick of it like us, and they say, yeah, I don't remember the last date night we had. And it blows my mind. And I'm like, what are you doing? Why are your kids and your work coming before your spouse? That's not okay. It's got to change. Your spouse comes first. I don't care what anybody else says. Your spouse comes before your kids. Your kids need things, yes. But if your relationship is not solid, then nothing else is going to be solid in your family, in your work life. If your wife's not happy, guess what? You're probably going to have a crappy day at work because you're thinking about all the dumb stuff going on at home, the fight that you had last night, or the kids and the mess and the fights, all the different things. You're not focused on where you're at. And so I believe it is so crucial every single week to have that date night, that you put it in the calendar. For us, it's Wednesday night. It's a non-negotiable. Every Wednesday night, we find a babysitter. Some nights, yes, we don't get a babysitter and we'll do it at home. But every Wednesday night is us. It is our time to reconnect, to check in, to grow closer, and to remember that I chose you and you chose me. And no matter what's going on at work, no matter what's going on with the kids or school or sports, this is important. And this is a priority for me. And I feel like that's really been lost in a lot of people.
So much to unpack there.
You're welcome.
I agree with all of it.
I get a little heated with this conversation.
This is true. There was times when we were early on and we were figuring out with kids that we alternated date night with us, date night with our kids. And the date night with our kids usually was something like we took them to the park. They played on the playground while we sat on the bench and had our conversations and had our date. Or we would take them to a local indoor playground and let them play while we spent time together. And how important it is that you spend time together, one, first and foremost, but two, have fun, play, be dorky. I will stand on my hill and state, if you can't swat your butt while you go up the stairs, if you're following your partner, you're not poking them in the butt, and they're swatting your hand, then there's something amiss. There's something wrong. If you can't just play and tease and have fun, because it's so important to show up as a kid sometimes. Because as you said, life is so serious in so many aspects, and adulting, quite frankly, sucks sometimes. It's pretty awesome too. But there are times where it's really hard, and we lose who we actually are by trying to be who we think we should be. And that's where we find ourselves again, is date night. We go to the arcades. We go to Fat Cats, where we're the only adults playing on the arcades amongst all the kids.
It's one of my favorites. I love
We've
that.
been bumper car racing. We're the only adults out there. We've been on go-kart tracks. We're the only adults out there. We've been on a rock wall at Rush in a foam pit surrounded by kids, being the only adults in there. Mostly just a big kid.
Yep.
So
But bringing that out more, one of my favorite dates that we had recently was going to a concert. And we went to a country concert, which is not Brad's thing, but he went for me. And I loved it. And Brad got to see a side of me that he doesn't usually see. I feel like I definitely at concerts and country concerts, especially because I love them, my childlike side comes out more. And that was a lot of fun to experience that with you, because a lot of times when I go, it's a girls' night. But I got to bring you along and jam out to Girls Just Want to Have Fun, which was sweet that they did that song.
It was funny.
It was awesome. But being able to access that childlike side and play and be silly and have you see that side of me, because a lot of times you see me as wife and mom, and I feel like that just gave you access to another side of me.
It's important to open up. And at first, it's kind of tough. It's not natural and it's not easy to go be just, for most people. You have the exceptions. I'm in that anomaly. That you can just let loose and be a dork and not really care what people think. And how important it is to spend that time together, just like you did when you were dating. One of the things that I admire about my parents is let's do this math. They're should be 47 years this year married. It might be 46. I can't remember if they were a year or two after when my brother was born. They're 46 or 47 years married, but they'll say they're 49 or 50 years dating. And my dad constantly introduces my mom as his girlfriend. All the time. Like, this is my girlfriend. Like, oh, you're not married? He goes, oh, no, we're that too. She's also my wife, but she was first my girlfriend. They still date. They still act as if they're 16 years old. And as a young kid, I am vivid memories of my parents making out in the kitchen and my dad spanking my mom's butt and then poking each other and them just being goofy and flirting as if they were teenagers dating again. And how cool of an example that is. How much of an example are you setting for your child in a like manner?
Yeah, and going along with that in a different way, the communication and the conversations that you're having. I was shocked by this the other day. I know a couple that they've been together for 5 years, and I asked him, what happened in his childhood that made him this person? Like, have you seen things from what he's told you of how he grew up that is making him who he is today, whether good or bad? And she said, I don't know, we've never talked about it. And to me, that just blew my mind, that you could be together for 5 years or even a year and you're not having these conversations. That's part of what date night is for, is getting to know each other. And usually you should be doing that when you're dating, when you're single and dating and getting to know somebody before you get into living together or engaged or married. But do you actually know your partner? Do you know how they grew up, their childhood? Do you know what makes them who they are? The experiences that you've had growing up is part of what has made you into the person you are today. So how can you really know your partner if you don't know where they came from? If you don't know why they do the things they do? How did their mom treat them growing up? How did their dad treat them growing up? How did their parents communicate? Maybe their parents didn't communicate, or at least they didn't do it in front of the kids. And so your partner has no idea that you're supposed to have these serious conversations because they didn't grow up seeing that. Your partner is going to display a lot of the things they saw as a kid. So if you don't even know who they were, what they went through, how can you understand who they are today and even work through differences, struggles, trials, if you don't actually know them? And that comes down to a lot of times dating. Are you actually dating? Are you actually getting to know them and communicating? The movie nights are fun. The axe throwing, top golf, whatever you want to do, those are all fun dates. But a big part of it is, are you still getting to know your partner? Are you having the hard conversations? Are you checking in with them? How are you? Where are you at? What do you need? How can I help you? Have those conversations every single week. And getting to know where your partner came from, where they're at now, and where they want to go.
All matters.
All of it.
And these are what surround our date nights. And there are so many things we have unfolded and unlocked by having those conversations that just make our relationship deeper. That's how we tick. And we know how each other ticks. And why we react the way we do sometimes because of these conversations. And how to appropriately respond when somebody reacts. It's important.
Date night is important. Make it a priority every week. I don't care if it's at home. I don't care if it's a walk around the block. Make your partner a big priority.
We'll leave it on that. So, share this with your partner. Say, let's go on a date. Let's party. And have a great experience. Play together. Laugh together. Have fun together. Share this with each other. Find us on social, Mr. Brad Draper.
And choosing us.
Like this thing, subscribe to it, download it for future listenings. Until next week, we love you guys. Bye.